Okay, round of applause.
Thank you.
Well,
so my name is Stefan, and I'm a product manager at Skyscanner. I've gone through pretty much the whole journey. I've been a developer, I've been an analyst, or if you like to get paid more, if you do stats on the Mac, also known as data scientist. And I ended up in product just about a year ago, and I've been doing bots for about 6 months. So I'm just going to talk about our year of bots and what we've learned and what we're going to do next. So yeah, without further ado, or probably most of you here know a fair bit about Skyscanner, but I'm just going to go through the top facts. So it's founded in 2003. We've got, I think, roughly more than 770 employees, comprised of 15 nationalities and 10 offices around the world. And in terms of the stats, we've got about 50 million UMVs and 40 million downloads as well. So yeah, moving on from that, and I'm just going to start with this thought from Suman Debroy. So if apps were in the business of selling us distraction, bots will be in the business of buying us time. So far, just a question actually, how many apps have you downloaded in the last month or in the last 2 months? And not counting Pokemon Go. A few, okay. But I think the correct stats were over 70% of people actually haven't downloaded any new apps. So everyone's got messaging applications on the phones, but no one's downloading any new apps anymore. So the way forward, it seems now, to attract more people and get new customers is actually to create an interface via a messaging application. So if we look at it, why? So here, you've got roughly around 9 steps to ask for flights from a particular airline in a very good app. Some are much worse. If you'd like to do it in a conversational way, all you have to do is say this. So get me a BA flight or whatever flight from one place to another, leaving tomorrow morning for less than 100 euros. So all of these 9 steps that you had to do before have now just been concentrated in a single sentence. So yeah, and it's quite a big paradigm shift, but to be fair, looking at my sister, she doesn't leave Messenger pretty much. Last time I counted, in the space of about 3 hours, she was on her phone for about 2 hours and 55 minutes, and that 5 minutes was just spent to get some water and return to the phone. So it seems that a lot of people do get messaging, and messaging is used a lot. So bringing businesses onto these platforms is definitely the way to go forward. So where did we start? Probably not a lot of you will know, but our first double in kind of conversation as a platform was with Telegram, which were the first guys to actually open up a API and a bot platform before anyone else. And that was, I think, just over a year ago. So that was a hack day by one of our architects, Richard. And in the space of a few days, he managed to hack up a hotels bot that you could chat to with the / commands in Telegram. So yeah, you can see, try searching for hotels. Where would you like to stay? In this particular case, I think it was Brighton. And yeah, specify when, and you're done. It gives you recommendations, and it's asynchronous as well, so you don't have to do that all the time. The conversation will just go on. So if the bot is searching for prices, you don't have to just sit there and wait. You can go off, do something else. You've already got the notification. It's in a single thread. It's all there. So the next thing we moved on to, and I think this is not really going to work without the audio, but fantastic! I forgot about this as well. So yeah, it's Alexa, and I don't know if any of you have seen the video. It's just the Alexa stick and the most famous the most famous elbow in Skyscanner of David Lowe. So the way Alexa worked, it's you all familiar with Alexa? Just yeah, most of you. So it's just a platform from Amazon, the Echo, that you can hook up all sorts of interesting stuff to. So some of the things we've used are you can check your bank account balance. You can, play music hooked up to your Amazon account. You can also control the lighting in the room, I think the temperature, and all sorts of other stuff. So we also added flight search as well. And yeah, probably should have checked that a bit earlier. Apologies for that. and Alexa was the second one. But the problem was, oh, right, brilliant. Okay. So each one of those was kind of a bespoke integration. So it was one monolithic thing built for that particular use case. So Telegram was a single script. Alexa was just a Node.js application deployed on a Lambda. And none of these things really talk to each other or were built in a way that you could scale out easily. So what we decided to do is kind of hold a hack day and go back to the drawing board. And instead of doing one single integration for each one of those individual platforms, we decided to create essentially a conversation service that will power all of those interfaces with varying degrees of various degrees of complexity. So for most of the interfaces, it was just going to be, as with Facebook, it was just going to be the different carousels, because obviously those are going to be different in Telegram, they're going to be different in Alexa because that's voice, and in Facebook and Skype, you're just going to have different things. So, but the next one we did when kind of I came in just around F8 is we took a team, dropped everything else, and we just decided we're going to do this properly. We're going to start with a service, and we're just going to launch the first travel bot for Facebook Messenger, which we managed to do in about 42 days from scratch. So it wasn't a hack that we just decided to do from today and fix all the technical debt tomorrow. It was done in a decent way, and we started fairly simple. So at the beginning, it was a fairly transactional bot, so you couldn't do absolutely everything. You would just come into the bot and we'll say, hey, where would you like to go? I'd like to go to London. So we'll guide you through the whole process that you'd normally have on a website, which is origin, destination, outbound date, and inbound date. And you go through the whole flow. And as you can see there, you just see the prices, and then you can go off to the website and book if you'd like, or you can change them. So with Facebook, we had the first kind of bigger app, the first bigger bot, but it was just one-to-one. So the way Facebook promised some of it is you're going to have all of these things, and then suddenly, you're just going to be able to do a one-to-one conversation with the bot, which isn't perfect because travel is inherently a social activity. I mean, a lot of people travel solo, and that's perfectly fine, but a lot of us will travel either with our partners or with our family or with just friends. So what happened afterwards is we sat down with Skype and we decided to build a bot that could be used in groups as well. So here you can see a couple of people. So I think one of them is me, and the technical lead on the bots team is just going through a simple conversation, and both of us using the bot together, and the bot kind of interacts nicely with the two of us without any hiccups. So group travel was quite an interesting thing, and contrary to our expectations, Facebook was a very overhyped launch. So it was F8, people were building bots, then all the bots, even actually some of the ones who were demoed on stage, like ShopSpring, the one about shoes that David Marks used, that was brought down 2 days later because it was too spammy and people were just blocking it like crazy. And yeah, it's just launching this one, which is a much nicer experience, can be done in a group, meant that people actually use it more. So as I said, contrary to our expectations, Facebook isn't quite as popular as Skype. The fact that we're due to our good relationship with them probably helps as well, but people do use it in a group quite a bit, which is awesome. So kind of our thoughts on messaging and why it's suddenly become so successful, even though IRC bots have been around for 20 years, is the fact that you don't have to download anything and you don't have to install anything. So you can just use a lot of bots over text, and a lot of people do that. So it's asynchronous, both in the way you deliver the information and in the speed communication style. So people can just chat to the bot in their own way. It doesn't require any kind of pre-agreed things. You just ask a question, people will answer, and then you'll guide them through the whole conversation. So it's got very low data usage, and it's a very good network. Well, it's got excellent intermittent network behavior. So in some parts of Africa, actually it costs, so I think for a fairly chunky app, which is about 20 or 30 megabytes, in Africa it costs about $60 to download an application, while if you just do it over text or over a bot, it's much easier to expand into kind of new audiences as well. So the bots are inherently social, and they work for one-on-one, which is the one we launched first with Telegram, Alexa, and then also Facebook was one-on-one as well. 1 to N, where you've got one bot and multiple people chatting to it, which is where Skype is at the moment. And what would be the most awesome thing would be an end-to-end scenario where we have, let's say, 2 or 3 different bots all chatting with a group of people, where we say, oh, we'd all like to go here. Some people will be starting from one place, some people will be starting from another, all going to the same place, all needing a hotel, but then they wonder whether it's a good time to book. And we've all got the kind of different bits and pieces together, but most platforms still don't allow communication in between bots, which is a bit weird, but I don't know. I mean, I guess they think that, you know, bots will just take over the world, but seeing most of them, it's far from possible. The other really good thing is it's got persistent context, so you always know a certain bit about a user. So for most of the people that have used it, we can probably infer what their home airport is or roughly where they live. The frustrating thing with all the platforms is that none of them actually provides a decent way to localize a user, which provides many problems for localization and just actually being a bit more useful, where people can say, I want to go to X, and we already know 1 bit, and we can just kind of go through the whole floor much quicker. But alas, they don't do that yet, and I don't think they probably will for a while. All bots are cross-device and cross-platform, so ours, it's essentially the same thing sitting underneath, but you can find it on Alexa, you can find it on Facebook, and you can find it on Skype, and it's the same thing. And also, if you use text or just actually any messaging application, it will work much better on feature phones if you've got text than on low-end smartphones as well, which most applications don't really do nowadays, because most of them are over 100 megabytes, which is absolutely insane. So what have we learned? And here I'm going to be as frank as possible, and if you want to build a bot, test it a lot. And when we built the Facebook one and the whole service underneath, it took us probably about 20 days to get from A to B. So it did the job, and it did it fairly well. However, people will try to break your bot, and they'll try to do it a lot by doing all sorts of random things. So one guy, the weirdest example we've seen was one guy who performed the whole search, and it was perfectly fine, and then he just suddenly asked the question, which side are you on? And then he went on to like one massive novel asking like, which side is the bot on when the war between the humans and the bots erupts? And it just went on and on and on. I thought of doing a printout of it on the screen, but then privacy issues probably wouldn't be too bad. But it's fantastic when you see it. I think it was about 1,000 words. Like, the guy would just go on and on. It's amazing. So yeah, sometimes people will just want to chat as well, and that's perfectly fine. Other people would use the bot in ways you didn't really expect it to. So one guy, I think, even without announcing the whole, because we started out with a kind of small question and answer model where we would just go through and fill kind of all the different stages in order to complete a flight search. As soon as we released complex queries, one guy instantly found a holiday in January, and it we'd like to be quite soon. So hopefully with the further improvements, we'll get basically people who can, happy travelers, which can just ask the bot for what they want, and it will give them a kind of nice and concise answer that they can actually use. And I think that's pretty much me. So that's all I have. Thank you.